Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session, where we're going to be discussing about what we do on our spare time when we're not writing blogs or doing videos. I am Patricia. I am this week's host for the Manic Expression Digression Session because Martin is very, very sick and is unable to do the hosting. And with that out of the way, let's introduce who is our this week's guest. We have the current host of the Manic Expression Digression Session, but he'll be spouting out whatever information that he has on his mind. Some jerk from Boston.
I'm dying.
Yes, I can hear that.
Doing everybody else.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we have Kyle.
Kids want to see a dead body. I didn't hear a no, so.
And,
it hurts to laugh. Stop it. We're not going to be funny today.
Okay.
And the next guest we have is Jim Bevan.
Martin, if you die, can I have your stuff?
There's way too much stuff to give to any one man. Do you want the Bowflex or the computer?
I think I could make room for both.
And we have our next guest, Ryan.
Hi.
And we have none other than Smiffy.
Hello, joining you live from the middle of a 5-hour journey that should only be 2.
Wow.
That is quite a long trip. And last but certainly not least, we have the creature.
Hello.
So, while we're really busy discussing about movies, TV shows, video games, and whatever that we discuss about in our blogs or videos, what do we like to do in our spare time? So, Sandra, why don't we start with you?
Well, this is something I've had to deal with a lot recently since I've had nothing to do but do things. Hold on, brain, not braining, right? Brain. Where is medicine? Need medicine. Hold on, I got this. Don't go away from me. I got this. Everyone, shut up. Okay.
This is going to be a good episode.
I've had to fill a lot of free time because I can't do any of my work. I mean, I've just started trying to write a little bit more today. So what do? I mean, I've been playing more video games because I do more than just video game reviews, which actually is more of a recent thing anyway. I guess that would just be my hobby. Movies are just something that I always watch. I will actually sit down for an entire day and just watch one after another, try to clear some off my list. But let's take all of that out of the equation. What do?
What do you do?
RPGs. I play a lot of RPGs. Like, just looking at my bookcase, I have 2 different versions of Dungeons & Dragons, Savage Worlds, and I just picked up a new thing I'm going to hopefully run. It's called Trail of Cthulhu, which is based on the Gumshoe system, which I've never heard of. Can't wait to get into it, because it's brand spanking. I also play a lot of board games. So I love gaming. It's not just what I write about because I like to do it. I don't want to say it's who I am, but I've embraced the nerd within me ever since, I realized that, holy shit, I don't have to be someone that, I don't know, fuck. I used to do, like, hold on. Wait, my brain's doing that thing again. Hold on. I also have to cough really bad. I'm trying to force it back. Get down, you fucking devil. Okay, hold on.
All right, while Martin tries to calm down.
We'll get back to me.
Yeah,
Like
okay, while
flowers for
Martin
Algernon
calms
over
down
here.
and
Slowly getting
gets his
down
cough
to
under control, Kyle, what do you do on your off days?
Well, I usually draw, and when I'm not doing that, I'm just reading about serial killers.
All right, and are you trying to do research on
all the
serial
serial
killers
killers.
to talk about the historical information about these, or you're just doing this for fun?
The latter.
Okay, that's a very interesting hobby.
Yeah, kind of morbid.
You're morbid? Gee, what a surprise.
Yeah, you should try it,
All right. Anything else?
I jack off a lot. While reading about serial killers.
Okay.
Is that a hobby? Like, do you have a journal or something that makes it a hobby?
No. I just get bored. I just go to Wikipedia.
Dear journal, this last week I found out.
Wait, you jerk off to Wikipedia?
Yeah, sure, why not?
He clicks random and hopes that it's not that Jack article again.
Occasionally you can find porn on there.
Yeah, I know. I've seen stuff. It's actually drawn by one dude. You don't believe me? Look up blowjob. That's him.
Okay, we gotta do that right now.
Yeah, you do that. All right. So let's have Jim discuss about what he does on his spare time.
I like to masturbate. I like to cook.
Okay. What do you like to cook?
No, I think everybody likes to masturbate. I think that's pretty much universal.
Yeah, but I had to give a varied answer. So I like to cook simple stuff, really.
Are you more of a baker, or do you prefer to cook appetizers or main courses, soups and stuff like that?
Oh, I definitely prefer baking. I took a lot of chemistry classes in school, so I'm very accustomed to, measuring stuff out, getting the ratios right, seeing what I can do, with a simple recipe. If I adjust something, what if I use all brown sugar in this batch of cookies instead of a mix of brown and white? What if I use solid fat instead of liquid fat?
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I like to read, obviously.
Any new books that you've been reading lately?
No new books, unfortunately. We're going through a couple of old ones I've wanted to get around to, but have never gotten the chance to. V by Thomas Pynchon.
That sounds interesting.
It's very hard to get through.
How so?
It's just a very, very dense novel.
I see. All right, let's get to the next person. Ryan, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I like to...
You like to jack off. There. Moving on.
Okay. I have been trying to...
Ryan is proving what he does. He gets deep in thought.
He likes to breathe heavily to the microphone.
He likes to leave us in suspense.
Fair enough. But I know that you like doing a lot of things, and Ryan, I know you like playing video games, and I know that you do occasionally some reviews on said things. So, is there anything else that you like to do that we don't know about? I guess not.
Yeah, when you put it like that, he sounds like
Let's take that as a no.
Okay. So let's get to the next person.
Sorry, can I just really apologise if there's any weird sounds coming through my mic at the moment? Because I'm walking through Reading now.
All right.
There are trains coming through the show all the fucking time. Don't get me wrong.
That's true.
That is very true. All right, Smiffy, what about you? What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I think a lot of what I like to do has been covered by other people, books and board games. But I guess I'd probably say I'd be surprised if I wasn't the biggest sports fan on this show.
Which is why we're not talking about the Super Bowl, which is going to be happening at the time of this recording tonight.
Well, that's why I'm worried about getting home.
Oh.
I'm watching.
So you're just talking to yourself? You're just walking through the streets talking to yourself?
Pretty much, yeah. But people look at me and they'll see this magical device called a phone. They'll probably figure out what's happening.
Yeah, it's not like the old days when you couldn't tell if someone was crazy unless you really had to get in really close to see if they had a Bluetooth on them or not.
Yeah,
I don't live in Backwoodsburg of England, Sheffield or somewhere.
Right. So, the usual, right, Smiffy?
Pretty much.
All right.
So
Last but not least. All right, so we have none other than the creature. What do you like to do in your spare time?
I mostly like drawing.
Drawing? What do you like to draw?
Mostly just
Dildos.
art stuff, mostly, and some original creations.
Oh,
Is
that's really nice.
Is that a very freaky Twilight Sparkle picture used as your Skype avatar? Is that one of your drawings?
No, it is not.
It's disappointing.
For those of you guys who are listening can't see it, but he has this absolutely nightmarish rendition of Twilight Sparkle as his
Yeah,
as
it
his
kind of
icon.
looks like one of those Ed Ross paintings. I mean, paintings. Right. Yeah.
Yes, it's
That pony
very
looks like
disturbing
it's
looking,
terrible.
but I have to say that it's very creative. I can say that.
Yeah, you can't. You're lucky you can't see the lower half.
I can imagine.
Why? What the fuck is on the lower half?
You don't want to know.
Okay then.
Why is this a thing?
Anywho, is that all the interest that you have, creature?
Not sure.
I guess so. So I guess we'll just move on to myself. My interests that I do in my spare time when I'm not doing reviews or if I'm not doing podcasts, it's pretty much the same as you guys. I read. I like to do some research on some interesting things that most people don't really know about and most likely don't care. Then there's the occasional maybe going out to see a movie or looking up a new book to read, whether it's at a local Barnes & Noble or looking up at Audible. And also, I really enjoy cooking, just like what Jim said earlier. I like to do a combination of both, especially since, previously I used to work in kitchens. I worked in both a bakery and I worked in a nursing home. So, I guess we can go over to the next topic, which I believe...
I just remembered a few things that I do.
I'm sorry?
Right. I just remembered a couple things that I do that are a
Oh,
little different.
okay, good,
Masturbating
wonderful.
to serial killers, because that's already been taken.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I've-
why don't you
I
talk
do
about
books on
it?
serial
I'm
killers.
sure that you have your mind a little bit more clear now since you're taking some medicine. So continue, Martin.
Alright, so occasionally when I can get the money and the time, I actually do go to a lot of comedy shows.
Okay, and
just
which
got
comedians
back from-
or specifically that you like to watch?
Let's see. I just got back. Well, not just got back. It was last week from a show called Say Hello, which has John Mulaney and Nick Kroll. They're playing characters that they play on Comedy Bang Bang, and I think the Nick Kroll show. I don't watch them, but this was pretty damn funny, and I love John Mulaney. I'll go see any Bill Burr is amazing. What else? Basically, there's like a small theater that hosts a lot of comedians. So we actually have like a really good variety of people coming through. It used to be that you had to go to like New York and LA to see like the really big acts. And now, I don't know what it is about this specific area. I mean, it's in the theater district, so I'm not totally fucking surprised. But like, there are some small comedy clubs where you can actually see a lot of different shows. Some of them are free, some of them are hosted by Comedy Central. I've gone to see many Comedy Central tapings.
Oh, wow.
But this one theater, they have a good rotation coming through. Like Kathy Griffin and Tracy Morgan are coming. And I know this summer is when a lot of the bigger people are coming, probably like Louis C.K. Mark Maron comes through quite often.
That's cool. Have you ever gone to one of these shows and you left thinking I shouldn't have come because the guy was just that horrible, or?
Nope.
Well, that's really
I
cool
get-
because here in Florida, it's the same thing in which if you go over to places such as like Hollywood or Orlando or Miami, they also have a pretty good comedy scene. Like I go over to the Hard Rock Cafe and there have been a handful of comedians or performers that come by. Like I would say about almost 2 years ago, I saw both Sinbad and I saw Gabriel Iglesias. And guess who was the more funnier one when I went to see them?
Sinbad?
Oh, Sinbad. Sinbad actually has a good stand-up act.
Yeah, I mean, both of them were funny in different ways. I mean, Sinbad, he would say a lot of stories discussing about his years doing film, and he jokes about him being bankrupt and having to do movies and stand up again after he started losing money and couldn't afford to pay his rent. So he was joking a lot about that. And then there was this one time in which he actually saw a girl talking on her phone, and he actually approached her, and he was talking to her friend. Well, everybody was just watching, laughing so hard about the friend's reaction when she knew that Sinbad was on the phone. And then there was Gabriel Iglesias, in which he was saying a whole bunch of stories about when he came over to Miami, and he went over to a Cuban restaurant, and he was asking for some coffee, and what was it again? Oh yeah, that's right. They gave him like a shot of Cuban coffee, and he wanted a bigger cup. And if you've ever drank Cuban coffee, it is very, very strong, and he thought that he could handle it, and so they gave him like a giant bowl equivalent of the Cuban coffee, and he had to drink all of it, and he was like buzzed throughout the rest of the day. It was really funny, and there seems to be a lot more over the years. Like, the one that I was really disappointed of not going to was that last year in Fort Lauderdale, Alton Brown actually showed up in a local theater that was like around 30 minutes away from where I lived. I would have bought tickets, but it was completely sold out. So yeah, we actually have a pretty decent comedy scene around Florida. I'm sure for, some of you guys, you have some pretty decent comedy scenes. I mean, at least some scenes that you can go to and you can enjoy.
Nope.
No?
I don't go to any.
Me neither.
Oh, you poor sons of bitches.
We didn't really have... There wasn't really like a good comedy scene in the area. This is going back a couple years ago when I went to school in Philly. There wasn't like a good comedy scene in the area, but the schools nearby, some of them had improv troupes and sketch comedy troupes, and they would often put on some good shows. One of the best I saw was this short little sketch they did where everyone was where it was a chicken abortion clinic, where basically every one character was a chicken. They just cluck, and this one comes in, female chicken holding an egg, gives it to a person at the desk, and they just toss the egg in the trash can.
Yeah.
Too dark?
That's
what?
quite
I
something,
was
I
paying
have to
attention.
say.
Yeah.
I almost fell asleep. What? Where's the punchline?
Yeah. What was the joke?
The chicken abortion clinic, they just toss an egg in the trash can.
Okay.
Anyway.
Need a cloaca
So
reference.
the joke is that an abortion clinic has to deal with dead babies sometimes.
Yeah, something like that. Alright, so while we were finished discussing about what our favorite hobbies are that we do when we're not doing reviewing, let's talk about the hobbies that we used to like doing, but we don't do it anymore, maybe due to lack of interest, or we don't have the time to do it anymore, or we just grew out of it. So, Sumjerk, why don't we start with you? What hobbies that you used to like doing, but you don't do it anymore?
I used to do a shitload of origami.
Oh, wow. Did you know how to do, like, everything? Like the
shitload of origami, because I can't really draw.
Mm-hmm.
I used to make, like, little phantoms with, like, a hood and everything. I could still do a crane. I could do fucking crane till the end of the goddamn earth. I can make them flap. I can make them not flap.
Everyone can do
I used to be able to make,
that's
like...
Origami 101.
Yeah, pretty much. But
I never
still.
bothered. I didn't know how to do it.
But that's... Like, I used to do a lot of things. I could make just about any animal. I was never really into the pattern origami, where it's nothing... It's very complex folding of paper, but all you're really doing is making, like, a trippy thing that would make somebody on weed just be like, whoa, man. It's like different colors and shapes, and the world is fine. It's like, no, fuck you. Stuff's boring. I can make ninja stars. I can make swords. I could make just about anything. And I kept it all in my mind. Of course, I was also on a lot of speed, so you focus a lot, and that's a good thing to do when you're on a lot of speed.
Cool.
That's like the one that comes to mind.
All right, and why did you stop doing origami?
I stopped doing speed.
Okay. Good. Okay.
No, I mean, to be fair, like, it's not like I'm just going out and doing drugs. I have ADHD, so it was one of my prescribed things. But what things like Adderall and amphetamines do is that they hyper-focus someone like me. So when I'm not learning, it's still in my system, and I need to do something. So the best thing to do is to find the task that you can like sit down and focus on and do that. Once I was out of school, I would always take it to use for my work, and I was learning my job. And then of course, there would be fun days. I'm not gonna lie. There are fun days where like you pop a few extra and then you go out all night. But in the end, you get home at like 3 a.m. and you're like, fuck, I'm either gonna write like fucking 20 pages of a terrible script, or I'm gonna do origami for like 5 hours, and then eventually you can fall asleep. So that's what I did.
I see.
And how many scripts did you write? Or did you only do origami?
I wrote dozens of scripts of the same 2 movies. Here's the thing about
kind of.
Here's the thing about this type of medication is, in general, what it does is there's always a trade-off somewhere. Sometimes you will have someone like Aaron Sorkin who can do all the coke in the world because things like Ritalin are actually just kind of like a few molecules off of actual cocaine. So in theory, you could actually use cocaine as like a treatment for ADHD. Don't, but you could. But don't. But yeah, so there are some people who can do that. But for me, it's either quality or quantity. When I could sit down and focus and write, like you really feel like you want to write. So I wrote tons, but the quality sucked. So I'd wake up the next morning, and I would be like, oh my god, all of this is awful. This is just the worst. And I would write it better, but because I wasn't on my medication, I would be like, oh, I can lose focus. And I get so bored. Even though I like writing, I like creating, and I only just recently found like a good way to balance everything. But yeah, I'd be like, I did like 20 pages in one night. How the fuck did I do 20 pages in one night? And all of it's bad.
I see.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Origami is very, very time consuming. It takes a lot of precision and it takes a lot of folding and calm mind and nature in order for you to concentrate on making this perfect piece of paper looking like something completely different. And, with the speed that you were going at with everything else, I guess I could understand why you had to give something up so that something else could become better. And you know what? I think in the end, it kind of helped out.
Yeah, I'm also off speed.
That too. All right, Jim, how about you? What hobbies did you like to do, but you don't do it anymore?
I guess I used to read and collect comics, but I've given that up.
Did it become too expensive, or the comics just weren't that interesting anymore?
They just weren't really that interesting. I just kind of grew out. I'm not really, grew out of it. It doesn't seem like the right word. I just wasn't really finding that much interest in it.
I guess I could understand. I mean, if we're talking about comic books, they do change the origins and the continuity practically every few years. So I guess it can be a little bit hard to catch up with. Because everybody's into what's continuity. Is it the originals? Is it the Silver Age? Is it the New 52s? It gets kind of complicated after a while.
Yeah, it's not just the continuities, too. It's like when they make these dumb decisions to, shake things up to bring in more viewers and then to bring in more readers, and it ends up, just like... totally ruining the series. Oh, you like this character? Well, we're going to kill him, and then and that's going to shake things up, and it's going to have a dark impact around the universe. And
wow.
It gets, stuff like that gets annoying when they try to shock, when they try to get in, when they just try to go for, ratings grabs over, substance.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because last week I went over with former coworker of mine, and we went over to a local comic book shop called Tate's Comics, and we were looking at a bunch of Superman comics, and then there was this one Superman comic that said, we're going to take the dark, gritty edge of Superman, and it's like they were describing. I think one of the critics said it's Clark Kent mixed with Twilight, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Ew.
No, that's wrong.
No, I'm not reading this. So I understand when it comes to, trying to make it dark and gritty. Like, last week, for example, I think Ryan was also a part of this, and I'm not sure if you were, Jim, but that long-haired creepy guy and Kindle were posting on Twitter about that Scooby-Doo is going to be having a dark, gritty comic book series coming up.
I saw that post-apocalyptic.
Oh, yeah, it
Yes,
is.
the post-apocalyptic one, yeah.
That's
Well,
You just
why?
reminded me, Jim. I have a stack of comic books that I actually just pulled out that I realized I forgot to read since like 2012.
Huh.
Because I used to be really into comics up until they actually got too expensive. I wasn't really. I'm a DC fan, but I never really went into. Holy shit! I just found Marvel Apes.
Uh-huh.
But I was never like into the big continuity, so I go to other ones. So like the indie comics. So like right here, I have which apparently I was supposed to read a while ago. These aren't even mine. Shut Up and Die by James D. Hundle and Kevin Stokes. But I also like a lot of Mark Millar. And so like I have the Boys in here by Garth Ennis.
I don't really like Millar.
I like it. It's basically like Alan Moore, but if he actually wasn't insane and stupid.
I see.
Oh, you're going to piss off a lot of Alan Moore fans.
Shots fired.
I mean, he's done some good work, but when you like Watchmen, I can read, but there's some other stuff where I just can't.
Hey, it could
It's
be
just-
worse. We could be talking about Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank, holy shit. Yeah, he's just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to be good, but something happened. I have a lot of Stephen King Dark Tower comics for some reason.
I don't know. Anyway,
But no,
Jim, anything else that you were interested in but no longer?
Nothing I can really, nothing that really comes to mind other than the comic. But yeah, I wanted to say one more thing about that post-apocalyptic Scooby-Doo thing. I saw the teaser image. Why did they give Shaggy a stupid Duck Dynasty beard?
I have no idea. But then again, I mean, look, I'm not really one of those people who is going to, nitpick and be judgmental about when things get a reboot or anything like that. I mean, if that were to be the case, a lot of things that we grew up with wouldn't be generated for a new audience and maybe could even be better than the originals. But then there are some things in which it doesn't need to be all dark and gritty just for the kiddies to come on by. Scooby-Doo is just not one of them. If you want to see something done right that has a, nice flowing narrative but takes it in a dark twist, watch Mystery Incorporated.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's, that did it well.
Exactly.
Innovate fine, but, there is a reason the phrase, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, exists.
Exactly. But there are some cases in which, yes, it does need a little bit of fixing because it's dated and it needs to be updated for a new generation. And, with that case of Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated is a great example on that. And this whole dark, post-apocalyptic Scooby-Doo DC comic, it's like, it feels like it's trying to be desperate. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can really feel the desperation with the fact that Scooby has this, eyepiece that communicates his thoughts through emojis.
Yeah. All right, well, let's just move on to the next person. Kyle, what were your favorite hobbies right before I just lost interest with you?
Well, I'm starting to realize that I don't really like playing video games anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Well, you were on my PlayStation 2 Memories podcast in which you were discussing about that, but you did talk about that eventually you sold yours and you kind of just fell out of it. So for those who hadn't listened to that story yet, why don't you talk more in detail?
Well, you see, I did play Fallout the last couple months, Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun, but I ran out of stuff to do, and I started realizing, video games, they're not very satisfying anymore.
I see.
I
guess I could understand
Well,
that.
that's okay. You can be wrong.
Well, and they're expensive, too, so.
I guess I can understand that because, I don't know, for nowadays, there seems to be a case in which these AAA titles seem to release all these games, too early.
I think it's all the hype.
It gets overhyped. They release it too early. There's nothing there. And then they have this huge DLC patches that they pay money, for the consumers to get. That way they can be able to have their games either have more stuff or actually function. So I guess for some people it becomes too expensive and too much time to put in with something that isn't completely worth putting in.
It might just be Bethesda. I think their games, they make good games, but they get old pretty quickly. They're very derivative, I guess you would say.
Yeah, the same thing could be the same case about EA or Ubisoft, in which, they're pumping out their Assassin's Creeds and their, Fallouts and Call of Duties and all that stuff. And I guess that's why more people are leaning a little bit more towards the indie games.
Yeah.
All right, Smiffy, how about you?
I used to do a lot of tabletop gaming,
wow.
but then I fell away from that. I used to play a lot of Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000 and things like that, but it got too expensive, and I found that I preferred Magic the Gathering because I don't have to put all the setup time and preparation in. You can play it anywhere. I can just bring a deck of cards and play with some people in a pub, at my house, wherever, rather than needing to have spent £1,000, paint everything, have a huge gaming table. It just sort of became something that I couldn't really afford to keep up or had the interest in anymore.
Just ask, when you play Magic, I know I know this is, I know they're completely different things, but do you ever start a game by saying, it's time to duel?
No. Surprisingly, no.
Well, you should do it once just to see the reactions you get.
Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, I've been watching the Japanese version on Crunchyroll lately because this year is Yu-Gi-Oh's 20th anniversary, and I definitely want to do a casual chat on it. Same thing with Pokemon. I've been watching the Japanese version of Pokemon as well, and it's vastly different than the English version.
Did you see the one where James had the fake boobs?
Yes!
Why did they not show that in America?
Because it was too offensive for the kiddies.
Oh, no, that was fucking hilarious.
Anyway, so, yeah, so tabletop gaming. It's funny because, again, going back to my story about Tate's Comics, when I was heading over to the gaming section at their store, they also had a lot of people, playing games like Magic the Gathering, and they also had Dungeons and Dragons. It seems that a common reason why a lot of people stop playing these kind of games is, the expansions get a little expensive, and the rules change over time, and sometimes the people just can't keep up with it, or maybe they're just too busy doing other things. Does that also, put into another reason why you stopped, Smiffy?
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is that. Like, it's time-consuming. You have to play in very specific areas, and it's sort of getting harder and harder to, get people together to do something like that. You put a whole evening aside, you might only get one game in. And yeah, it sort of becomes an infinite cycle. Buying a new army, getting the new rules, changing everything for the next edition. It's a lot of money when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that.
Plus, I can't paint.
Yeah, that's true. The campaigns.
My painting always looks a little bit wonky at the end of it, so it's not very rewarding to spend all that time and then look at your soldiers and they're just kind of blobby.
Alright, that's fine. It's understandable, of course. Again, going back with Yu-Gi-Oh, I realized that there's a whole bunch of different rules in their new expansions, like this whole synchro summons, that's what it's called, and everything about these, like, merges and stuff like that. It's like, wow, these things just got really complicated because, in the early years, my high school friends were into Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's, I kind of, like, joined in that little grouping, for just a little bit, like, I'm mostly just watching, but, there are some moments in which, there's so much stuff that you just can't keep up with, and, same thing about, being too expensive. It just becomes really overwhelming.
I think part of it as well is that I played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh back in college, and I think they kind of shut their whole thing through a bin bag by just constantly ramping up the power levels to make people buy new cards.
Yeah.
It means that older cards become effectively useless.
Yeah, and same thing with Magic the Gathering as well. I know that there are some cards.
I definitely disagree with that one.
Oh, really?
So, as someone who's played both, I think with Magic the Gathering, they've done a really good job of making sure that they don't just every single make the cards by making new versions.
Oh, okay.
By making the power level over and over better and better. It's actually stayed relatively stable during the 6 years I've been playing.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So I can still play with lots of cards so that, we're quite old, getting on a lot. We're getting on to be very old now. and find they don't have no trouble competing, really.
Okay, that's nice. I was wrong. I apologize. So Magic the
Oh,
Gathering...
that's fine. I just wanted to... That's your opinion. I disagree.
No. I don't really know too much about Magic the Gathering, but I do know that there are some cards that, you know, aren't as useful than what they used to be over time. But I guess in some cases, like, you know, with like with Magic the Gathering, I guess they don't really pertain too much on the changing of the rules, which is nice. All right.
It's actually, I think with Magic, it's actually got the opposite effect has happened. Some of the older cards are the most sought after to a ridiculous degree.
Oh, wow.
There are cards out there that were printed in like the first edition that were thousands of pounds, because to play the really older formats, you have to have those cards.
Okay, so I guess it happens with the opposite effect, in which, you know, as time goes on, buying the older cards is much more valuable than getting the newer cards, and then if you threw away your older cards because maybe you were just getting too old with it, and then eventually time goes on and you want to go back to it, then you have to put in a ton of money and time to do it. So I guess that kind of maybe is a reason why some people just can't keep up with it anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Creature, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. What hobby that you were a huge part of but not anymore?
Actually, it was playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, it was?
Oh.
Yeah, so basically the whole previous conversation is pretty much why I just lost interest and I couldn't keep up with it.
Okay. So, so you were a huge part of the community of the cards and stuff like that. And,
Yes, I was.
And, you know, and knowing a little bit about that, you know, they change the rules every time that there's a new generation. Like, you know, the current one, I think, is, what was it, ARCs or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that there's a new version that just came out recently. But from what I understand, you know, they have a whole bunch of these different rules, like, as I mentioned before, the synchro summons and the merges and stuff like that. It just becomes really complicated. And, you know, for a lot of fans, I guess as soon as, like, the later seasons happened, I guess they sort of lost interest, and the cards had to also change along with it. Was that the same thing for you, Creature?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, actually.
All right. Anything else?
I was into sports for a little bit.
Oh, what kind?
Shooting.
Shooting, like gun shooting?
Like rifles?
Yeah, like
archery.
skeet and trap.
Oh, okay. And,
That's not a sport.
and what made you lost interest in that over time?
It just got too expensive.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah.
It's a common theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem to be a common theme with all of us, that things start getting expensive over time that we can't seem to keep up with. With me, I used to be a massive gamer, and I'm not anymore because it just became a little bit too overwhelming and too expensive over time. And as what Kyle was saying previously, the AAA titles just don't really impress me that much. I mean, there's some handful, you know, here and there, but other than that, not really. I mean, the most recent one that I did play was Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. But other than that, the more recent ones, I played like bits and pieces of it, but I never really fully completed because I just don't have the time for it, and I don't have the money for it either. But also another thing that I used to be really, really obsessed with was, you know, I was a huge anime fan, and I still am. But I mean, back in high school and college, I mean, you know, that was like my main thing for a while. Like I was in many anime clubs, and you know, I always try to find like the newest anime. And you know, as time went on, I just started fizzling out. I got burned out. It was overplaying for me, and so I just took a break from that.
Do you think it was because they were playing too much of the moe stuff, or?
I guess so. I mean, as time went on, I mean, you had the three major contenders, and then the fan bases were just all up in arms about which one was the best, and then there was the filler arcs, and it just got really overwhelming for me. And with none of them really being satisfying with their conclusions, I just pretty much stopped.
Yeah.
I'm on a break from anime as well.
I mean, even still, I have not watched, anime such as Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, or even One Punch Man. And everybody's been telling me you should watch it. The most recent anime I watched was a few months ago. I was watching A Lull in the Sea. And that's because it's a really nice, simple slice of life anime that has some of the most gorgeous animation that I've seen in recent years. And, and that was really nice. I mean, it was just 26 episodes. It was, short and to the point, and it was nothing that I could, take too much time in which I can just watch, season after season worth of stuff.
Yeah, that's why I try to limit myself, too. Just, stuff that only runs for, 13, 26 episodes, and that avoids getting bogged down in, minutia and filler.
Exactly.
That's
now, unlike Western cartoons that, each season continues to get better and better, like with, say, Steven Universe or Gravity Falls, anime is not really that kind of situation. I mean, 13 to 26 episodes, it's pretty good, and I can just move on. I mean, very rarely, can that be the case in which an anime that runs for a long time can still be just as exciting as it was previously. I mean, if we learned anything from, Dragon Ball or Bleach or anything like that, it starts tiring after a while. I mean, no anime can be like One Piece. So, yeah, I mean, I still love anime, but I'm not as a massive fan as I was back, I would say, over a decade ago. Alright, I think we can...
Basically, the thing is that keeping up with stuff like this is hard to do. And if something's hard, then it's not worth doing.
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, does anybody have any other things that they want to speak about right before we conclude?
No.
No?
Nope.
Alright then, I guess we can conclude this episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session with doing shameless self-promotions. Jim, why don't we start with you?
Well, since Power Rangers recently started its 23rd season, I started a rundown of my 23 favorite monsters from the series run. Part 1 is already up, Part 2 will be up later today.
Okay, awesome. Kyle, how about you?
No, I got nothing going on.
Okay. Smiffy?
I just finished writing my script for my next review, which will be on the film Lethal Ninja. And I'm also starting back up my podcast, Nothing of Worth, my co-host Tom. We just finished recording our first episode, and I'll come back and we'll be talking about Doctor Who Season 3.
Okay.
Where we left off.
Nice.
You mean Season 3 as in the William Hartnell season or the reboot
No, I mean
season?
of the new stuff.
Tease me there.
Sorry about that.
Alright, Creature, how about you?
I'm gonna post a review today of the Asylum knockoff of High School Musical.
Lovely.
Oh, what's it called? What do they call it?
Sunday School Musical.
Oh my god, that's lame even by Asylum standards. That's not even Arctic Rim level of quality.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good luck with that. As for me, the next episode of Casual Chats should be up maybe within the next couple of days. I'm going to be having a very, very special guest over that I've been a huge fan of for a very long time. And also, I'm going to be starting up a new series called Heroic Gem or Junk, in which I will be taking a look at obscure or overlooked superhero shows and movies. Episode 1 will be about the 2007 Wolverine and the X-Men animated series.
Love that one.
Alright,
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Surely it can't be as good as the 90s one.
Well, you'll have to see what my opinion is about it in the episode.
That's true.
When I post it on Manic Expression. Alright, so that is the end. Oh, hold on. Is Some Jerk still available? No, I guess he's still on the phone.
I think he passed out from the medicine.
Yep, I think you're just gonna have to do the podcast.
Oh, well.
Forever.
Alright, well, that should be it
have
for
to
this
keep going.
episode of the Manic Expression Digression Session. Thank you so much for listening, and we will hope to catch you next week. So, see you then.
All right.
Bye.